Greetings and congratulations from Touch History. I, Parvez Kamal, am trying to present the history of America based on true events, feeling the urge to inform the next generation. Today's history is about women's rights. Now, start our journey. The Sunlight Rebellion, the true story of Florida's women leaders. Florida, 1960s, the land of eternal sunshine, of orange blossoms and wide blue skies, seemed like a paradise to the rest of America. But beneath that golden glow, the state simmered with quiet injustices, unequal pay, racial segregation, and a culture that told women to stay quiet, smile, and be grateful. It was in this bright yet unequal world that a handful of determined women rose to challenge the system. Their fight would change Florida forever. One of them was Mary Alice De Castro, a young school teacher in Miami. She was known for her sharp mind, her warm heart, and her unshakable belief that education could change lives. Every morning, she walked through the school gates carrying a bundle of books, a stack of lesson plans, and a growing sense of frustration. She loved teaching, but she couldn't ignore the truth. Men in her profession earned nearly twice as much as women, even when they did the same work. When Mary Alice first brought it up in a teacher's meeting, she was told, "It's just how things are, Miss De Castro. Don't make trouble." But she couldn't let it go. She stayed up late reading labor laws and writing letters. And one humid evening in 1962, at a small teachers' union gathering, she stood up and said, her voice trembling but clear, "We are not asking for favors. We are demanding fairness. If we shape the minds of Florida's children, then we deserve the same respect and the same pay as any man." That night, the Florida Teachers' Equality Movement was born. At first, it was small, just a few women meeting in borrowed church basements and schoolrooms. But word spread quickly. Teachers from across the state wrote to Mary Alice, sending envelopes filled with stories of unfair treatment, letters of resignation, and words of solidarity. The movement began to grow one classroom at a time. Among the women who joined her was Clara Williams, a nurse from South Florida who had been fighting a different but equally cruel battle. Clara was African American, and in the hospitals where she worked, she was often told she couldn't touch certain patients or enter certain wards simply because of her skin color. Clara had spent years swallowing her anger. She knew her patients loved her and trusted her care, but the hospital board did not. In 1964, when a white supervisor took credit for her life-saving work, something inside her broke. She contacted the newly formed movement and met Mary Alice. The two women from different races and professions instantly understood each other. Both were fighting to be seen as equals in a world that refused to see them. Clara decided to take her fight to court. She filed a case arguing that racial segregation in healthcare violated both state and federal law. Healing, she said, has no color. Her lawsuit made headlines, and though she faced threats and insults, she refused to back down. Eventually, her case became a landmark in Florida's medical history, forcing hospitals to integrate staff and ensure equal opportunities for Black nurses. As their causes merged, something powerful began to take shape, a movement that was no longer about one profession, but about justice itself. Teachers, nurses, secretaries, journalists, and even farm workers began to gather in living rooms and libraries across Florida. They wrote petitions, printed flyers, and held marches in Tallahassee and Jacksonville. Their slogan was simple but defiant: "Equality is not a favor, it's our right." The press called them the Sunshine Sisters, sometimes mockingly, sometimes admiringly. They faced opposition from all sides. Local politicians dismissed them as emotional women. Newspapers printed editorials saying that a woman's place was in the home. Some even lost their jobs. But the women refused to stop. Mary Alice and Clara traveled from town to town, speaking at schools, churches, and union halls. They told stories, not slogans. They talked about mothers who worked 3 jobs but still couldn't pay rent, about nurses who saved lives but couldn't afford their own medicine, about little girls who dreamed of becoming doctors or scientists but were told those were men's professions. By 1970, the movement had caught the attention of the state legislature. Florida, once known for its conservative values, was changing. The women's marches filled the streets with hundreds, then thousands of voices. Television cameras captured scenes of teachers and nurses holding signs that read, "Same work, same pay," and "Justice has no gender." That same year, Mary Alice made a bold decision. She ran for a seat in the Florida House of Representatives. The idea of a woman, especially a teacher, running for office shocked many. Her opponents laughed, saying, "Politics isn't for women." She replied calmly, "If politics decides how we live, how we work, and how we are paid, then politics is for women." Her campaign was run on a shoestring budget. She drove her own car from town to town, often sleeping in cheap motels. Volunteers, mostly women, hand-wrote flyers and knocked on doors. When people asked why they should vote for her, she said, "Because I don't want your daughters to fight the same battles we've already fought." In November 1972, against all odds, Mary Alice De Castro became
We
the
are
first
gathered here
woman
today
elected
to celebrate
chair
and
Florida's
reflect on the
Education
love and
Committee.
community
The
that
victory
binds
was
us
more
together.
than symbolic. It was transformational. Within a year, she introduced and helped pass Florida's first equal pay for equal work legislation. Meanwhile, Clara Williams' success in court paved the way for widespread reform in healthcare hiring practices. For the first time, Black nurses and female administrators were promoted to positions of leadership across the state. Hospitals that had once turned Clara away now sought her advice on policy and ethics. Together, these two women had built a foundation for something larger than themselves, a future where equality was not a dream, but a right. Their work inspired others.
And now announcing
Women began
my
running for city
candidacy for
councils,
office.
school boards, and local offices.
We need
By the
new
late
leadership to bring
1970s,
real change
Florida
to our
had more
community.
women in public
Together,
service
we
than
can
ever
build
before.
a brighter future.
But their
Your
journey
vote to make
wasn't
a difference
easy.
in our community
Both
and our
faced
future.
personal
Together,
sacrifices.
we can achieve
Mary
real
Alice
change.
received threats during her campaign and lost friends who couldn't accept her independence. Clara's lawsuit brought years of stress and isolation. Some hospitals blacklisted her before reforms took effect. Yet neither woman ever expressed regret. "If silence keeps injustice alive," Mary Alice once said, "then our voices must never rest." By the time they retired, Mary Alice from public
Because
life,
I
Clara
don't
from
want
nursing,
your daughters
the world
to
around
fight the
them had
same
changed.
battles.
Girls in Florida schools were being
Because
told
I
they could
don't
become
want your
anything
daughters
they wanted
to
be.
fight the same
Hospitals
battles.
were hiring women doctors and
Card.
administrators.
This is crucial.
Newspapers that had once mocked
We
the
need
Sunshine
to
Sisters
understand
now
the
publish
impact.
tributes
Card.
calling them
This is
pioneers of
crucial.
equality.
We
Today,
need
if
to
you walk through a
understand
public
the
school
impact.
in Miami
Card.
or a hospital
This
in Jacksonville,
is crucial.
you might find their
We
portraits on the
need
wall.
to understand
Smiling
the
faces
impact.
framed in sunlight, their eyes calm yet fierce. Beneath each photograph is a small plaque in honor of the women who refused to stay silent. Their story reminds us that leadership isn't about power, it's about courage. It's about seeing injustice and daring to confront it, even when you stand alone. The women of Florida's equality movement didn't wait for permission. They created their own path, one step at a time, through doubt, resistance, and fear. They proved that real change doesn't always come from grand speeches or powerful men in suits. Sometimes it begins in a classroom, a hospital ward, or a kitchen table, where ordinary women decide that enough is enough. And so, in the radiant heart of the Sunshine State, beneath the palm trees and the endless blue sky, a new kind of light began to shine. Not the light of comfort or leisure, but of justice and determination. It was the light of women who changed Florida, and in doing so, helped to change America.